Sophomores Podcast. I am Casey Coggins here with Alvin Habert and Andrew Lara as my phone starts telling me or doing the play-by-play of the Texas basketball game because the NCAA college basketball season is underway. We have Kansas and Michigan State playing right now, and then the big matchup is Duke and their freshman phenoms versus Kentucky, and their well, it's not really a freshman phenom class, which is probably the first time you could say that about Kentucky in the last 10 years.
But they're still ranked higher than Duke?
Yeah.
I thought Duke was ranked number one.
Nope, they're 4.
Kansas is
number 1. Mainly because, they're the top. Duke got the top 3 guys in the recruiting class, but they're also only returning. They're returning like one starter, and they have a bunch of like really unknowns. In Kentucky, like their best player is like a 5th-year transfer, like a grad transfer, and Kansas has a few more returning players, so like what you're getting out of those teams more than Duke, even though Duke has a very good chance of winning it all this year.
They have all the hype.
All the hype. Like every ounce of the hype that's going into this college basketball season is Duke. I hadn't heard anything about Kansas and Kentucky until like 2 days ago when they started playing the commercials for the preview for the games tonight. Like,
well, all you saw on like ESPN and stuff was Zion Williams highlights, like during practice games.
Williamson.
Williamson.
That's racist.
I think there's going to be quite a bit of parity in college basketball this year. And we can do a little college basketball preview next week, since the season really doesn't get started. We can pick our preseason Final Four next week. But since college basketball is just getting started, and I just said we'll do our preview show next week. This week I wanted to focus on the Week 9 recap of this past NFL season and just getting into some NBA observations. Got another week under our belt, and another few games for certain teams, and kind of giving a early season review of the Spurs, and kind of talking about where we see them heading, what we've liked, what we haven't liked. And then, finishing up with On Fire, and Dyer, and Prophecies. So, starting off with NFL Week 9. Last night, Cowboys-Titans. That was the voice of all Cowboys fans across the country. God. They folded 7.
We don't all sound like Napoleon Dynamite. God.
Gosh.
I mean, your coach kind of looks like him. They fall to 7-8 with the windows and roof open, since they opened Jerry World. They lose primetime Monday night game after having their bye week, having the 10 days off or however long it was. Actually, it was longer than that.
It was like 15 days.
Yeah, they were fucking...
And they started off pretty well, and Amari Cooper gets that touchdown, and they get the turnover, and they kind of started out exactly how you would want them to.
It looked promising.
And then Zeke, I believe, got 6 touches in the second half. And, I mean, we've talked extensively the recipe for success with the Cowboys. And time after time, the Cowboys coaching staff, who, actually has, all the inside knowledge of, who's actually good on this team, and they're the ones that get to set up the game plan and do all of this stuff. They seem to fail to look at, well, this week this game plan worked. This week this game plan didn't work. And they try to run that game plan that didn't work over and over and over again. And at some point, you just got to realize that, all right, even if that first game plan that worked, typically we win, we should still just try to do that. We still need to. And it was just, it was an all around kind of, just underwhelming. I won't say disappointing, because I'm not a Cowboys fan, so I'm not disappointed by it. It was it's underwhelming, because that this team, the team that you have, has the talent to do so many great things, and yet they still have Dak dropping back when the offensive line isn't the same as it was, and Cole Beasley, I don't think, had a target in the first 3 quarters. It just seemed all around like they were outcoached by a rookie head coach. And I forgot who posted it, but somebody tweeted out the record of the Cowboys season since Jason Garrett took over. Well, the first season was split between Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett. And this is 2008, I believe. So 10, 11 seasons he's been the head coach. He has 3 winning records. And then he has that string of 8-8 records, where I think they went 4 straight, 8-8, and then everything else is losing records. But, he's not a winning head coach. His winning percentage is not winning. As the resident Cowboys fans, I would like y'all to put in some of y'all's input. Andrew, you're the more outspoken one of y'all. Go to town. Let's let it rip.
Speak on it.
Man,
Let's talk about
There's
it.
nothing you can say that hasn't already been said. I can't support the Cowboys until that fucking ginger fuck is off the field.
Hey, we don't need to throw Ginger in there, all right? You're under the roof of another redhead.
That soulless bastard clapping away our time, our money, our lives.
I think what he's actually doing is he's trying to get as many claps as he gets paid for the entire season. He's like, all right, let's see if people are realizing that I'm actually clapping the dollars that I'm making by being a mediocre head coach. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even think he knows what he's doing. So how can we know what he's doing? And then you have Jerry Jones coming right after the game, being like, "No, we're good here. Nothing to see here.
We are not good."
Jerry, the house is on fire.
Where
It's not good.
There's no fire in the team. Kevin Byard dancing on our fucking logo like that.
Byron Jones went over there and gave him. He gave him
one.
When T.O. did it, only one person came over.
But
but
it was
he
also
should be
only
Macklin.
T.O.
But he smacked him like, what was his name? Was it?
Darren Woodson?
No.
No.
Was it?
No.
It was like Greg. It was Greg something. I forget his name already. But he went.
Wasn't it Roy
and-
Williams?
Nah, it was. I believe it was somebody named Greg. It was a safety.
I remember it being a 31.
And he just went over and smacked the shit out of T.O. Laid him out.
He
Byron
straight tackled him.
Byron Jones is there, he's pushing him off and all
George Teague.
that. Or George Teague, there you go. And
Not or George Teague, it was what it was.
oh, okay.
Not
And,
an option.
Byron Jones is there. He's pushing him off the star, but then you don't see the Cowboys on the sidelines just fired up by that, saying we got to get them back for that, like hitting harder and all that. It just felt like, I don't know, the air deflated after that interception, and they lost all the juice.
I think also the air deflated after the Mariota 3rd and 8 touchdown run. Like, one that put him up 28-14, and after that, you just like...
Yo, it wasn't like he went untouched either. He got touched, but he just got bumped.
Yeah. Well, that's a common theme throughout football is you watch a lot of guys try to make tackles, and they're trying to make sure that they don't improperly tackle to cause a flag, but they don't properly tackle with the whole, trying to wrap up, shoulder to midsection wrap up.
That quarterback
and so you see a lot of guys just trying to throw their shoulder checking guys to the ground, and Mariota, like he's fast, like he's a good athlete, but he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not a guy who's like super shifty, and he's a straight line speedster. Like he can, once he's able to get vertical and go, like he can outrun you. But like his ability to maneuver is slight enough to where he doesn't get like hit full on to where he can still bounce off the tackles like on that touchdown run. What the most telling stat of that entire game, other than Zeke only running the ball like 17 times, is the Titans went 11 for 14 on third downs.
Yeah.
And that's demoralizing for a defense, because some of those downs were 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and they're firing strikes to just really every different like receiver that they had. It wasn't just one guy who was torching them. It was just Mariota was showing you when he feels 100%, this is the type of player you get. He gets banged up too easily. So the last couple years, especially last year when everybody thought that he was going to make this big stride, he got hurt and he's just had the hamstring issue, hasn't been able to plant and do certain things the right way. But when he's feeling right, he's
had big games and big moments.
Yeah, he's somebody that you can definitely win a bunch of football games with. So that was just another low light reel in the film room of Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan. That they couldn't win that game because that's
just put Chris Richard as the head coach right now. Just do it.
But to be fair, they're in a division that doesn't have anybody running away from it. Because, yes, they lost, but Washington lost also. Philly, I believe, was on their bye week,
and so was
the Giants. So yeah, they're not gonna be able to make up for it. So they're 2 games behind Washington, a game behind Philly. Dallas's schedule has the 2 games against the Eagles and a game against the other game against the Redskins.
Yeah, so but then we also playing the Saints.
The Saints, Falcons, yeah. But you finish on Bucks, Giants, Colts. Well, Colts, Bucks, Giants. So if the Cowboys can handle
the division
games and handle the games that they should be favored in, which are those last 3, that's 6 right there. Those are 6 games. Now they'll probably split with Philly. So that's 5 out of the last 8 weeks that I can see them winning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So that has them going 5-3, which it puts them at 8-8. So they're going to have to find another win in there. Like they're not going to make the playoffs at 8-8 because Washington isn't going 8-8. Philly's probably not going 8-8.
Like that we gotta beat either the Saints or Atlanta.
So it looks like the Cowboys need to sweep the rest of their division games, which is 4. They need to upset Falcons or Saints, and then they need to handle the Colts and Bucks, which they should be favored in. And that will get them to that 10-6 mark that would get them in. That probably would win the division. So it's going to be tough sledding. And another team that has started 3-5 is my Lions. And they're kind of in the same boat where, yeah, they're 3-5, but the division leader is 5-3 in Chicago. And the Lions just lost to the Vikings, but they have the 2 games against Chicago. They have a game against the Vikings and a game against the Packers. So they still have those division games. They have the Cardinals and Bills. So it's kind of the same situation where they have games that they should win. They have the division games that they need to win, and then they have Panthers and Rams as they have to upset one of those teams. I'm not saying they will, but you have the Panthers at home. You have the Rams at home. Like, home teams should be able to upset a good team, like a great team. The thing that I'm in the same boat with how people feel about the Cowboys is, like, the GM has done a great job in getting pieces. A lot of people were complaining about the Golden Tate trade, and they were like, wow, the Lions could really use a guy who could get open quickly on 3rd and short. Like, yeah, that it would be nice to have Golden Tate in this situation, but we don't have Golden Tate, so don't you think that the coaching staff should make a game plan that doesn't have Golden Tate routes in it? Like, they're running plays that were for Golden Tate, but they're putting Theo Riddick in that spot. And Theo Riddick is a great receiving back, but he's not Golden Tate. And like they didn't adjust. There were no deep shots. Stafford kept getting sacked, and they didn't keep a tight end to block. They didn't keep extra people on to block. They didn't change anything. They just kept getting sacked and sacked and sacked. And Stafford, the one play that just can't condone is the Stafford pitch play to Kerryon Johnson, which I tweeted about it. I was like, it was a stupid play. Like, we can all agree pitching the ball in that situation was stupid. Just get the couple yards, live to see another play.
Just like I agree with Dak Prescott throwing the interception. But
when you are being sacked all game, you haven't been able to move the ball, you haven't been able to score, like, everything is just frustrating. You're just so frustrated that you're not able to get points on the board, that you just want to make something happen. You are like, oh, well, let me get the ball to my great running back who can maybe get more than the 2 yards that I'm going to get. So he pitches it. Kerryon should have caught the pitch because it wasn't a terrible pitch. It hit him right in the hands. But, like, you don't pitch in that situation. But I also see the other side where, like, this is a quarterback who is just, you can see the frustration on his face of being sacked and sacked and sacked and sacked and sacked and sacked and sacked. I think that was 7. Sacked and sacked and sacked.
There you go. You got it there.
Yeah. So that you just want to make something happen. Like, Dak, you'll see quarterbacks throw passes that you're like, why the hell are they throwing that pass? Their receiver was triple teamed, but if you look at the last quarter and a half and you see that, like, they're just not, they haven't been able to move the ball. Like, they haven't been able to try to push the ball downfield. Just nothing is going right offensively. Quarterbacks in to like every position player, wide receivers or running backs, you see it in every position. You see guys try to make plays out of nothing when they should probably just bite the dust and just say, all right, that's good enough. I got my 5 yards. Let me try to I'll just, go down and not force anything and fumble. And they end up fumbling because they're like, I need to get these other 5 yards because we haven't been able to do anything. I haven't touched the ball. It's the Ty Montgomery play. Like, Ty Montgomery tried to make a play because he was frustrated by the lack of use for him. So he tries to return a kick, fumbles. He's now a Raven.
He's no longer with us.
Yeah, so like that's why I'm so frustrated with the coaching staff. Like, not necessarily, I'm frustrated with Matt Patricia because he kept Jim Bob Cooter. He was the only new head coach who kept the previous regime's offensive coordinator this season. In their offense, and I know this isn't something that a lot of people would like to listen to, but I'm going to read off some numbers. These are the points scored for the Lions this season: 17, 27, 26, 24, 31, 32, 14, 9. So they have 2 games in the 30s. They have they have 4 games. 3 games in the 20s. They have 2 games under 20 and 1 game under 10. Like, they don't score a lot of points. And when people think of the Lions offense of the Matt Stafford era, they think of a guy who's like a gunslinger who's getting a bunch of yards, they're thinking Calvin Johnson era Lions, like scoring a bunch of points, high flying offense. During the game, I decided to look up what the Lions offense ranked. Before this game, where they only scored 9, they had scored 171 points for the season. That put them at 21st in the league. The teams below them are like the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Bills, the Giants, the Cowboys, like the worst teams in the league, and the Cowboys.
I like how he just took the Cowboys out of the way.
Because the Cowboys aren't a bad team. They're really not a bad team.
Coached poorly.
And the Lions aren't a bad team. Like, their defense shut down Adam Thielen. Now, I know he was kind of hurt, and I don't think they had Stephon Diggs either. But, like, Dalvin Cook had one big run, but other than that, he was contained pretty well. And if you don't like the fumble recovery for a touchdown, without that it's 17. So you hold a team to 17 offensive points. So the defense played really well. Their offense just put up 209 total yards and got sacked 10 times. And averaged 2.8 yards on the ground, which, I mean, Kerryon Johnson ran the ball 12 times. And just like with Zeke, that's not the Lions' strategy for success. Like, Matt Stafford should not be dropping back 46 times. Kerryon Johnson should be carrying the ball 25 times. Like, that's where I get frustrated, and that's where Cowboys fans get frustrated. You have a strategy for, like, there's a pathway to success. There's a pathway to winning football games, and you get to the fork in the road, and instead of saying, you know what, this way led me to the promised land, this way leads me to criticism, let me go to the criticism route.
The sign is clearly pointing you to the right direction, but you still decide to go left.
Exactly.
Dumbass shit.
Well, now that we've discussed our teams, I want y'all to give me the game that y'all liked the most out of this last week.
The best.
What was the game, the best game of this last week for y'all?
1, 2, 3. Saints and Rams.
Saints and Rams, right?
I was gonna say Brady versus Rodgers, but okay.
It wasn't Brady. It wasn't Brady versus Rodgers.
Brady's versus Rodgers.
It was
Rodgers versus the Patriots.
It was like Edelman almost threw a touchdown pass. It wasn't. It was. I forgot who was breaking it down. I think it was Mina Kimes was breaking it down, and she was like, "You look at the Patriots are throwing guys out there, and they don't even have Gronk. They don't have Michelle. They don't have they're two of their best players on offense, and they're getting open receivers, and they're turning a wide receiver into running back, and he's busting big runs, and they're throwing wide receiver screen passes to running back screen, like just throwing all these different plays at you." And Rodgers, one of his touchdown passes had to be like a perfectly placed ball because none of his receivers could create separation other than Valdez-Scantling. And even a couple of his catches, or two of the three catches were contested. They finally started giving the ball to Aaron Jones more.
And then he fumbles it.
But then, his fumble led to the Patriots scored to put them up 24-17. And then, they go 3 and out because they get sacked. Rodgers gets sacked on third down, and then Patriots score again. And now it's 31-17 in the blink of an eye. And that's the Patriots in a nutshell. Y'all know how I feel about Brady, so
he's pissed.
Perfect.
That's definitely not how I feel about it.
I feel like I gotta say that.
So, but that's how the Patriots have won the last 18 years. Is you don't need a superstar game out of your quarterback. He was 22 of 35 for 294 yards and 1 touchdown. A very average game
to his standards.
And I mean that's pretty much average.
Well, he's the GOAT, so higher standard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not really. He's had like 3 years where he's been like outstanding.
And that was with Randy Moss.
One year with Randy Moss,
breaking all the records.
Last year he played incredibly well, and then I believe 3 years ago, it was like the year after Peyton broke all of the records, where he had a year where he went like 33 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Something good like that.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't. This is for one of our smoking sessions. So, but yeah, that game was underwhelming. Like this weekend, the main marquee game was the Sunday afternoon game, Rams at Saints. That was the marquee game. The Rams kind of got a tough break. Let me drink some whiskey.
That fire water.
Because they went for it on 4th and 1 after I believe causing the Mark Ingram fumble. Mark Ingram fumbled it. Rams take over. They have a 4th and 1, and they fake a field goal. And the punter is their holder. And in my opinion, he got a first down. His knee wasn't down. He stretched the ball out to cross the first down marker. Should have been reversed and called a first down. The replay official said there wasn't enough to overturn it, so the play stood, and the Saints take back over, and they go down and score, and end up getting an interception from Goff, go down and score, and all of a sudden it's 35-17 at half. And it looks like the Saints are going to run away with it. But then the Rams started to look like the Rams that started the season undefeated. where they're getting open receivers. They're the Sean McVay tricky plays where it's like a play action. He has a guy release underneath. It gets lost in the pattern and breaks big plays. They end up tying the game at 35-all. And I'm sure most Saints fans were like, oh shit, are we going to blow this? They get the field goal and then get a stop and then hit Michael Thomas on that big play, which I loved the Joe Horn celebration.
I loved it too.
Yeah,
I loved it too.
When I saw him go to the goalpost, and once I saw him start reaching for the goalpost, I was like, he's pulling the Joe Horn. He's doing the Joe Horn. I got all excited. And then I see, like, before he even pulled the phone out, the flag was on the ground.
Yep. As soon as they saw him go for it, they're like, nah, dude. This isn't going to happen.
And I think even better about that was, like, he got a sideline and everybody was, like, high-fiving him, giving him dap and congratulating him on the touchdown. And then you see him walk by Sean Payton, and Sean Payton just kind of gets, like...
Gives him the look.
But, like, he doesn't condemn him for doing it. He doesn't bench him. He's just like, come on, man. Like,
we're up 10.
Like, you're going to...
Get in the game.
Like, there's a possibility, because we're going to have to kick off from the 20, that we're going to give them the ball at, like, the 45-yard line. And, I mean, it was a great kickoff and great coverage, so they only got the ball at, like, the 30. Yeah. So it was only, like, a 5-yard difference. And, the Saints pulled that game out. And, I mean, they were my preseason Super Bowl pick. So,
yeah.
They've been... They have all the pieces to win the NFC and go all the way and like finish the season on top. The defense started off the first couple games a little struggled a little bit, and they've really rounded into form. The trade for Eli Apple helped them in the secondary, so they just need to get healthy. Marcus Davenport has the toe injury, but I think that was a preview of the NFC Championship game. At this point in time, are those teams like your two favorites in the NFC to play in the conference championship game?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
easy.
Now, not including the Cowboys in this, because I know y'all are probably holding out hope.
No.
Is there an NFC team on the outside of those two that you can see sneaking in?
One team that I think is a dark horse that people's probably going to be sleeping on, I think it's the Seahawks.
That is not where I thought you were going to go.
Panthers, maybe.
Elaborate, please, because I need some enlightenment if you're going to say the Seahawks, who I don't even think that they're going to...
4-4 right now.
All right, so we thought that there was going to be at the bottom barrel of their division. And
I didn't think that because they're in the division with the 49ers and the Cardinals.
All right, well we thought the Niners was going to be ahead of them.
You keep saying
the Rams. The Rams for sure. And so it was them and then the Cardinals, right? But the way that they're playing and the way that the Niners are playing, like, it's completely different.
Now I do want to say that only one team out of a division is guaranteed the playoffs, and the Seahawks are not winning that division.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to win the division.
Yeah, dude, they just have to win out and hope that...
You were talking about the division teams.
Because that's why I was starting off with that, because when we did our predictions for the division, we were saying that the Seahawks was a bad team and that they'll be at the bottom of the division.
Well, they're not a good team.
I didn't say they would be at the bottom. We talked about this.
Did you put the Niners ahead of them?
I can't recall. I know.
I think I did because Jimmy G wasn't hurt.
Right. And
That's
I'm
what
pretty,
I'm pretty sure all of us had the Niners ahead of them.
Right.
But they're not gonna get past. They're not gonna beat the Rams, dude. They need.
I'm not saying. He's saying in the NFC. Who else can you see?
All right, so
my dark horse team is the Seahawks.
All right. So
We're gonna look past that already. Because that just makes no
okay.
sense.
So here's the Seahawks schedule.
Oh.
They play the Rams. They play the Rams this weekend.
Yes.
Loss.
Okay.
They play the Packers the Thursday game after this weekend. So they're gonna play on the road against the Rams, and on a short week play Aaron Rodgers without Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor and all the guys that they had in previous years.
They have been all season.
Right, and they're 4-4. The teams that they have beat: my Lions, which was a shit show if you watched that game. The Raiders, there's 2 wins. The Cardinals, there's 3 wins. And the Cowboys, shit show again.
Shit show.
There are their 4 wins. They've lost to the Broncos, they lost to the Bears, they lost to the Chargers this week, and they lost to the Rams already.
There's your strength of schedule, dog.
So they haven't beat a good team. Like, record-wise, a good team. And they go Rams, Packers, Panthers the next 3 weeks. Then they go 49ers, Vikings, 49ers, Chiefs, Cardinals. I see them only winning 3 of those games.
Okay.
So that puts them at 7-9, which is not playoff worthy.
Okay. We'll come back to it.
But it goes to what I was saying about the Cowboys and the Lions is like for these teams that are right there on like the outskirts of the 5th and 6th seed, the wild card spots, like in order for them to make it, they have to pull off some upsets. So I do think the Seahawks are not that good. I do think Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are that good. That it would not surprise me to see them at home beat the Vikings, at home beat the Packers, at home beat the Chiefs. I wouldn't be surprised. The Chiefs one I'd be like right below surprised. I'd be like, huh. That's kind of the reaction I would have to it.
Look at that.
The Panthers, as which Andrew said, was the team that I was kind of like. That's really the right at this moment.
That's what he was
in time,
hoping you were gonna say.
That's what I expected out of you.
You should know that better.
Andrew, since you were the one who did say Carolina, make the case for Carolina.
I mean, that's my sleeper pick. They have not a sleeper pick, but that's who people are sleeping on.
How?
After this last week, I don't think they're being slept on. But,
not anymore.
But the question that I asked was, outside of those teams, who's the team that could creep up and sneak into the conference championship?
Yeah, you said creep up.
You said Seahawks.
You said creep
They've
up.
been creeping. They haven't gotten the attention at that up until let's say yesterday that they.
Right. Sunday night was when
everyone was like, "Oh shit, Carolina's got a fucking football team."
Carolina's 6-2. Like,
everybody's been saying they had a football team from the beginning of the season.
No, they haven't. They haven't been getting that attention.
What? How is that possible?
I don't have my stuff in here because I have written down y'all's playoff teams, and I don't think that we might have. We didn't have them winning the division,
no.
And I think I put them at the 6th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we all, like, if we put them in, they were right there on the 6th seed. I think you had Eagles and Vikings, though, and you didn't even have the Panthers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, saying
which Vikings are another team that could still sneak in there.
Right. The Vikings...
Well, they would. Right now, I think they'd be the 6th.
The Vikings' thorn in their heel is the fact that Kirk Cousins is still their quarterback. We have to realize that.
And Dalvin Cook just coming back from injury, too. And then they lost Stephon Diggs.
But, yeah, man, I mean, Carolina's just now starting to get attention halfway into the season.
like kind of what I said with the Seahawks, the teams that the Vikings have beat. The 49ers at the start of the year, the first game, which they had Jimmy G for, but it was the NFC conference championship loser versus a team that was really just kind of retooling on the fly. They got smashed by the Bills. They've lost to the Rams. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Jets, and they beat the Lions. Not murderer's row right there. The team of teams they've beat. So they're 5-3-1. Their ties against the Packers, and their losses are against Saints, Rams, and then the Bills are kind of an outlier. But the two, when they play the good teams, they've tied and lost. So, I mean, I still see
really said the Seahawks.
Yep.
You could have said like Philadelphia. You could have said Minnesota or Green Bay. You could have said Atlanta or Carolina.
You could pretty much say a lot. You could a lot of teams, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you can make a case for that one. But you said Seattle, and just like, hold on.
I couldn't even make my case for Seattle because y'all just
there is no case for Seattle. That's why.
The case for Seattle was what I said.
We'll just
they have Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson.
We'll just put a pin to it.
We sure will.
Yeah, we will.
We should know that if you say something stupid, best believe you're gonna get called out for it.
That's fine. Like I said, we'll come back to it. Y'all looking at me crazy.
So who would be the other playoff team, or the other two playoff teams?
Well, so
who do you see in the NFC
right now?
Yeah, who do you see?
Well, obvious Rams and Saints.
Okay.
Carolina, of course, because I guess I was the only one that noticed that they were like 5-2 or 6-2.
Yeah, they're 6-2 now.
And then again, I was gonna say Seahawks is gonna get a wild card spot, and then
you have to have a team. You have to have a team from the NFC East,
right?
NFC North.
Yeah, the Bears, and then the East. I was hoping out for the Cowboys, but it's looking like that's not the case. So I'll probably say the Eagles.
The Eagles.
Have Chicago win the North.
Yep.
Because Minnesota has a tie.
Because Khalil Mack.
So you have the Eagles, the Bears, the Saints, the Rams,
Panthers,
Seahawks, and Seahawks.
Do you want me to give you the same thing that I just gave you about like Vikings and Seahawks, where the Bears are 5-3 and their wins have come against the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Bucks, the Jets, and the Bills. Their losses are to Miami, which has kind of been a weird team. They should have won that game, to be fair, but they blew it to the Brockweiler, Patriots, and Packers. So 3 teams with a winning record, they lost to. Then the teams with the 500 or below record, they won. So it's, beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And but coming up, they still have 2 games against the Vikings, a game against the Packers, a game against the Rams. And at this point, I don't know about the Lions. So, so it's like, if the Bears sweep the Lions, they probably make the playoffs.
So you don't even see them winning the division?
No, I see the Vikings winning the division.
Okay.
Which pains me to say, but the Vikings, I think, have the easier route to win the division, because they have maybe not. I hadn't looked at their schedule, because they have the 2 games against the Bears. They have the Packers, Patriots, and then they're on the road against the Seahawks. So, like a lot of the teams that we're talking about making the playoffs, they all play each other, and at some point it's all going to even out. Before we move on to the NBA, since we've been discussing the NFL in depth, on the AFC side, kind of the same question. Right now, it seems like it's Chiefs Patriots. That seems to be like the road that we're going down is another game against those two.
Yeah, are there any other teams?
The Chargers
in that conference or what?
The Chargers are 6-2. And
Houston's 6-3.
Houston's won 6 in a row.
See, now the Chargers, that's a team that's quietly.
Pittsburgh is 5-2-1, and after starting 2-2-1, I think. Yeah, they started 1-2-1. They've won 4 in a row.
Yeah, the Chargers aren't getting the attention because they're the other team in LA. They're the Clippers right now.
Yeah.
So right. They're not going to get the attention.
Yeah. They another team that they beat the teams they should beat. And that's really that's the NFL in a nutshell right now. There's only a handful of teams that you can say these are good teams. And then you have a bunch of teams that you're like, how is Miami 4-4 or whatever they are?
5-4.
Oh yeah, because they just won. They have the AFC has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 teams out of 16. So
with
less
a 500 record.
Less than half of the teams in the AFC are above 500. And the NFC has a whopping 6 teams above 500. So lots of bad football, lots of bad teams. So the theme of the week is beat the teams you should beat. Don't lose to the Bills 27-9 or whatever it was for the Vikings. You can't afford that loss because
so much money.
because that loss now brings you back to the Packers. And if it's win or go home week 17, I'm putting money on Aaron Rodgers pulling out a win and winning the division over the Vikings. And then you can look back at the Bills' loss as being this catastrophic error in the season for the Vikings. But so Chargers were my preseason pick to win the AFC because I said it's going to come down to matchups. They're 6-2. They lost. One of the losses is to the Rams. They haven't had their best defensive player all year. They're still waiting on Joey Bosa to return. And they've been they still have kicker issues for whatever reason. But they just cut Caleb Sturgis and went to Michael Badgley, and maybe he can solidify his kicking spot there. So if Joey Bosa returns to that team, I can, with that pass rush and those defensive backs, I can see them being able to hold the Chiefs or the Patriots under 30 points, which is really the threshold in the NFL right now. If you can hold a team under 30 points, you give yourselves a chance to win. And with Melvin Gordon, who's like Todd Gurley light, Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they'll get their tight end Hunter Henry back too. If they get healthy, they can make a run.
Are they going to get him back, or they're hoping that they get him
He's
back?
supposed to be back in December.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I heard today. So it's definitely going to be the Steelers and the Chargers, I think, are the teams that might be able to sneak into that conference championship game. Now, if it's the Chiefs, I'd rather see the Chiefs and the Steelers play. And if it's the Patriots, I'd rather see the Patriots and the Chargers play. Because if the Patriots play the Chiefs or the Steelers, they're making it to another fucking Super Bowl because those teams cannot beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady to save their lives. So it seems like, it's a very top-heavy NFL season right now. Well, let's transition to NBA observations now. I just want one thing that has stood out from non-Spurs things that have stood out to you in the NBA this year. Andrew, what's something that stood out to you non-Spurs related?
This LeBron start, this Lakers start. It's really like that slump's really dragging on right now, huh? It doesn't seem like the kids are clicking.
Well,
granted they had their suspensions and this and that and reports of Magic cussing at Luke is just Hollywood. It's all like
drama.
So they're 4-6 and they haven't clicked yet. And the last time we talked Lakers, I said you have to give them a little while to let Luke Walton figure out rotations, who's going to play with who, and then to go down 41-17 at the end of the first quarter to a Kawhi-less Raptors unit. Getting Ibaka scoring his career high, which I know that
was like 40.
He's only like 29.
Really?
Yeah.
He just seems old.
That's because he's killed the Spurs so many fucking times.
But those were like 6 years ago. No, like fucking 8 years ago where he was.
Kevin Durant is 29. Kevin Durant's 29 and he got drafted in 08.
No way Serge Ibaka's that young.
He is Wikipedia.
Serge Ibaka age is
29. From Brazzaville. September 18th, 1989. So he just turned 29 too.
Oh, he's from the Congo, dog. There's no telling how old he is.
He's Danny Almonte over there.
Come on now.
Oh man, that's way back.
But I think they're just kind of holding their breath to make a move. Like, tread water. Some team is going to be desperate or tanking, and they're going to make a move. Whether it be, a team like Phoenix or, Minnesota. 4-7 right now. Jimmy Butler having all those issues with Andrew Wiggins.
Is Jimmy Butler still sitting out?
Yes.
Sweet.
So hold out until you can trade the likes of Lance Stevenson and Rajon Rondo.
Well, they just signed Tyson Chandler too.
Yeah, so that's gonna be great.
The Lakers just signed Tyson Chandler?
Yeah, they picked him up off waivers.
God, I didn't even see that he got cut by Phoenix.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed another big. Alvin, I know that was one of your criticisms about the Lakers before the season, and I was like, well, they'll play Kuzma and at 5 and LeBron and Brandon Ingram, but then you kind of realize that lineup's only good for 7 or 8 minutes together.
Yeah.
Because then look, the teams that they're losing to is the teams that have the likes of Serge Ibaka. Kyle Kuzma can't guard Serge Ibaka, and you don't want to play JaVale McGee more than 18 minutes a game, because it's for whatever reason, if you play him more than 18 minutes, that mind just gets fried. He just goes scrambled eggs. He starts throwing passes behind the back. The stupid Lance Stevenson behind the back alley-oop attempt. Did y'all see that?
Yes.
That's the type of shit that you don't want to see from the Lakers.
That's why he lives on Shaq and the Fool.
That's why they're going for that. They're bringing back the Showtime, man.
Those are the types of things that you're just that's not what you should be doing. Dwayne Wade wasn't throwing behind the back alley-oops. He just threw it up over his shoulder And LeBron, I mean, was a lot more athletic at that point in his career. But like it's not something that can easily be stolen. He still gets the arc on the ball for the alley-oop. So, yeah, the Lakers just they'll get it. They'll right the ship, but they got to do that by the end of this month. If they're not over 500 by the end of this month, that's when I'll say they're in trouble. Any other points on the Lakers that you would like to say? Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Nah, man, that's pretty much it. It's just they need to get they gotta get the Pistons going together. No pun intended.
Do you
Detroit.
Are you trying to say that they're going to trade for Blake? Is that what?
Whoa!
You just heard it here, folks.
Right.
Breaking news.
Do you see a new coach on the horizon? Maybe
No.
a guy that has like 5 letters in his whole name that just got fired. They're going to trade for Blake Griffin and sign Ty Lue. Hot takes.
Fire.
I don't stand behind those statements.
Alvin, your big standout of the NBA season so far.
So far, like I want to say the Nuggets, but
Anthony Davis.
the Kings and Clippers right now,
The Kangs.
they're playing a lot better than the Rockets. They're playing a lot better than expected.
This is the Kings that I expected last season. Like I was expecting the Kings with the Zach Randolph and Vince Carter being the veteran leaders. Like I was expecting that. Like George Hill was on the team at the beginning of the season with De'Aaron Fox. I expected veteran leadership to help the young guys, and they get rid of the veterans, and then Dave Yeager is like, oh, well, now I get to play all these athletic young guys all these minutes, and they've just Ben McLemore looks like he's actually good again. Buddy Hield
is playing good this year.
Yeah, had his first triple-double last week. Willie Cauley-Stein is doing the Willie Cauley-Stein things.
Dallas is still bad.
But
Suns are still bad.
Luka Doncic is putting up numbers on like any rookie in the last 15 years.
Except for Trae Young.
Well, Trae Young's not getting the rebounds as well as
Luka Doncic.
assists and points. So, like, Luka Doncic is putting up... let me see what his numbers are at. But Trae Young is, another guy that, like, I was a believer in because the NBA has adjusted the rules for him. But it was going to be he had the same questions that Steph had when Steph entered the league. Like, we know you're a good shooter. We know you're a good passer.
We gotta fix that doofy haircut, though.
But you're 6'1" and you're a slight build. Like, are you going to be able to drive past people? Luckily for those types of guys, you're not allowed to breathe on any opponents, so it allows them room to shoot the ball. And if I see, like, Marco Bellinelli does it, and Steph does it, and a lot of shooters do it, like James Harden and Chris Paul, if I see more of these shooters do the scissor kick Reggie Miller thing and get the call, I'm gonna like pull my hair out. Like they changed the rule of the Reggie Miller rule where you kick your feet out when you shoot and they hit your feet and you get the foul call. And but then after the Zaza Kawhi play, they were like, oh, well, you have to give shooters room to land. And I see so many shooters kind of, when they release the ball, they scissor kick, and the defender runs into their leg, and they get the foul call. And I'm like, that's not the rule. Like, did they get rid of the Reggie Miller rule? Like, and I've said this before. Like, when I played basketball for teams, like, my main job was to shoot the ball. Like, I love shooting threes, and I love watching guys shoot threes. That was the skill set that I tried to make my basketball game, is the guys like James Harden and Steph Curry and those types of guys. But it drives me nuts to watch the NBA being 3-point central and, like, changing the rules to accommodate the 3-point shooting. I don't want to see the 144 to 122 point game. Like, it's a 22-point loss for one team. Like, I don't care that they scored 144 points. I want to see competitive, like, actual competitive games where I don't want to watch All-Star games.
Yeah.
Like, we give the All-Star game so much shit for being not competitive and just a bunch of people out there just chucking shots.
And now they want to make it competitive.
Yeah, now they want to play defense.
And now they want to make that competitive, but they're making the regular season game just like the All-Star game, where everybody just wants to chuck threes and dunk the ball.
The All-Star game is only going to be 97 and 92 watch.
So, I mean, I would hope that it would swing back the other way, but that's not going to happen. So I just pulled it up. Doncic is averaging 19.4 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 4.6 assists a game.
Trae Young is averaging 19.1 points, 7.9 assists, and 3.2 rebounds.
So about even on everything.
Even. It's a wash.
For fantasy points, that is, because everything's 1 point pretty much. So my big observation from the get-go is the Raptors. Before the season, we all had them as y'all had them as the 3 seed. I had them as the 2 seed. We knew that they were going to be good. I don't think, and we had a suspicion that there was a possibility that they could be really good. But that was just, like, a suspicion. Like, well, things have to break right. And they're playing games without Kawhi. And Lowry's going off for, like, 31 and 16. OG Anunoby is putting up numbers. Siakam's putting up numbers. Danny Green's playing well. Fred VanVleet's playing well. Like, they're showing the NBA world that if Kawhi is 100% healthy, they're just as good as the Boston Celtics, who everybody before the season was like, it's going to be Boston Golden State. Mm-hmm. If Kawhi is healthy, at this point, I'm ready to say that it's going to be Toronto Golden State. Because Toronto has things that Boston doesn't. And I have said before that the most important thing to have on a championship contender is a great wing player. You have to have great wing play. You need that guy who's 6'9", like 6'8" to 6'10", plays that small forward, stretch 4 position. You have to win a championship in today's NBA. That's the player you need to have. The one team that won a title without a great player at that position was the Warriors' first title when they had Harrison Barnes in that small forward position. But they also had Andre Iguodala, who won the NBA Finals MVP that year. And Draymond Green is kind of that, like, Swiss Army knife player at that kind of position, on top of the Steph and Clay 3-point barrage. So they had a guy at that position. The Raptors have Kawhi. They have OG Anunoby. They have Siakam. They have Danny Green, all kind of playing that position. I know I'm missing somebody, but they also have 2 quality point guards in Lowry and VanVleet. That when they come against the Celtics, you're going to be throwing Ibaka, who's athletic enough to stay with Horford on the perimeter. You have Kawhi to be able to guard Jason Tatum or Gordon Hayward. And then you'll throw Siakam or Anunoby at the other one. Or Danny Green. You can put Danny Green on Hayward. Lowry can guard Kyrie. I mean, he might still put up like 35 points. But the Celtics aren't going to make it to the finals with Kyrie scoring 35 points a night. Like, he's a great scorer, but that team is best when they spread the ball around. So at this moment in time, I know it's early in the season, but at full strength, I put Toronto in the NBA Finals because that's what I've seen from them that I haven't seen from Boston yet. So that's my quick observation. Now let's hit the Spurs. And then get on to Fire and Dire and Prophecies. Alvin, what have you liked the most about the Spurs so far?
To the point where, like how I was telling everybody that DeRozan is going to fit well in the system, and it's showing. Like this, like he should have been a Spur like a long time ago. Like him and Popovich, like, and the system, the ball movement system.
Did you see the article that was written about DeRozan?
I haven't seen it, no.
So ESPN, I think it was Michael C. Wright. He wrote an article on the trade and DeRozan starting, like, getting to San Antonio and getting accommodated, and Rudy Gay played with DeRozan in Toronto, and he was actually the one that helped create the friendship of DeRozan and Lowry. He was like, hey, y'all two need to get along together so y'all become great together. So Rudy Gay was one of the first guys that got the call from DeRozan. And and so they're talking about, like, DeRozan walking into the practice facility, and he looks up and he sees the 5 championship banners, and he's talking about, like, he realizes that everything here is, like, in San Antonio is done with the purpose of winning basketball games. Like, every step you take, every move you make, like, Sting, Diddy, everything is to win a basketball game and to win a championship. And like, he realized when he got here, like, this isn't going to be so bad. Like, yeah, I'm heartbroken that I got traded because I wanted to be in Toronto my whole career, because, like, who says that in today's age, in today's NBA? Like, who says I want to be with this one team, like, my whole career? Like,
they're the
very
team that
few
gave
guys.
him the chance, though.
Yeah, and so he was heartbroken that he got traded. But then he got here, and the article really touches on, like, how quickly he realized that he's in an organization that has won 5 championships. He goes, you look up and you see the 5 championships, and then you see that one that says 2014, and you're like,
oh, just 4 years ago.
That's 4 years ago. Yeah. So it was a really great article, but yeah, it touches on the point that, like, he should have been a Spur. He should have been drafted a Spur, and, like, I would have loved to see how he developed. But
you see it now, like, his numbers are better than when he was with Toronto, and of course it's a Popovich team, so you're going to expect the Spurs to be in games even though they're not at full strength. Like, that's just what Popovich does.
Yep, that's definitely how. That's why I put them. That's why I had them in the playoffs, because I had them at the 8th seed, because I was like, there's a lot of good teams in the West. I don't think it's as good as it has been in the past, but the Spurs have the recipe, and they know exactly who they are, and they know what they need to do. So it's like, since they have the system in place, that system is going to win them a lot of basketball games.
And you see it too. Sometimes he brings DeRozan over next to him.
Yeah.
And, like, he's teaching him. Like, you can see it.
So, Andrew, same question. What has impressed you the most out of the Spurs season so far? What's the big standout point?
The fact that DeRozan's doing so good and he's not fully acclimated to the system.
Right.
And he's just like, I'm still getting used to it, but he's leading the team in scoring, so it's just like,
I forgot what I who said it and like where I heard it, but somebody was talking about how like the Spurs are pretty much just playing pick and roll with DeRozan right now, and he's slicing and dicing people, and it's like, you know, he doesn't have to actually have all the system down. You can just run, you know, the oldest play in the book, well, second oldest play in the book to the give and go. And he's, you know, the 27.3 points per game on 51.6%, 89.3 free throw percent, and 6.7 assists per game. So he's putting up, you know, career numbers so far. And the Spurs knew when they got him, they were like, well, you know, Kawhi was our guy. Now it's DeRozan. So it's like everybody already knew that late in the game, you know, if it was number 2, if we had number 2, he would be getting the ball in this position. But since he's not here, you're here. You just fill right into that spot. Like,
that's what I was saying.
Go win us a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like Patty said in like the first game or whenever it was. Yeah, I think the first game against Minnesota after the game, DeRozan was like, yeah, like he was getting questioned about. It seemed like he just kind of filled in naturally to go and win the game. He goes, yeah, it was pretty easy when I'm going over to the bench and Patty's coming up to me, pulling me to the side, and he goes, go win us this basketball game,
mate.
Like you're getting the guys you're playing with telling you like, hey, this is your time, go get it. Like and they're hyping you up to be the guy. My standout is, yeah, DeRozan's playing great. But Bryn Forbes has been playing outstanding for his role within the team. When he first busted onto the scene 2 years ago with the Spurs, kind of late in the season, because he was a G League player out of Michigan State, and I watched him play, I saw Patty Mills. Like that's the game that he brings. But what he can do that Patty can't do is he's a much better defender. Patty fights.
He's bigger. He's bigger too.
Yeah, Patty fights his ass off to be a good defender, but Bryn Forbes is just, he's bigger and he has better natural instincts on the defensive side, and that might have something to do with him coming out of Michigan State, because those guys are taught to defend.
Izzo guys.
And it's not like Boeheim guys who are taught to play defense in a 2-3 zone. Like, he's taught to play man-to-man defense. So he's shooting the ball well. He's running. He's coming off the ball well. He's playing decent defense. He's not DeJounte, of course, but like he's doing enough to get the Spurs started off to the 6-3 record that they're at. They had a little disappointing loss to the Magic. Before we started, we talked about Derek White. He's should be He should be back in the lineup by the end of the month. We didn't look into Lonnie Walker's injury. So we'll see what happens when he comes back.
What was his injury? Meniscus.
Yes. As far as an hour ago, Derek White has been upgraded to probable for Wednesday's game in Miami.
Oh, so there we go.
So it looks like he's going to be... he might not be back then, but it looks like he's right around the returning date, and
he's on schedule.
Yeah.
Looks like Lonnie Walker still has about...
I just saw that
3-4 weeks.
From October 6th that he was 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So he has probably 3 to 4 weeks. So he might be back by the end of the month. And that's when I think we'll really, by the end of the year, we should be able to see exactly where the Spurs stack up with the rest of the West. They'll win games. They'll beat the bad teams just because of their execution. They'll beat some good teams because they have 2 of the top 30 players in the league. Like that's how the NBA works. If you have the best player on the court, your odds of winning skyrocket. So at this moment in time, it's too early to tell because, teams are still tinkering with their rotations and everything. Would y'all move the Spurs at all in the preseason playoff ranks that we had? Because y'all both had them at 6. I had them at 8. Y'all still comfortable with the 6th spot for them?
Yeah, definitely.
Probably like one spot because I think the Rockets are not going to end up as high as I thought they would be.
That Carmelo curse.
I mean, now they're finally find their groove, but I seen too many holes. Like
they've only won 4 games, man. There ain't no grooves.
They're 4-5 right now. I think the first few games they realized how important Trevor Ariza and Mbamute, is that who they had last year?
Mbamute, yeah.
Yeah, neither of them are there anymore. Like, they realized how important those types of guys were to their team.
Yeah, they realized that after they lost to fucking New Orleans.
So, I mean, again, like I just said with the Spurs, they're trotting out CP3 and James Harden night after night. They're going to beat a lot of teams just because of that. But, I mean, I had them at 8, and, like, again, kind of too early to really make it so, like, make an accurate prediction. But since I already said I can, like, right now, I see Toronto winning the East. I definitely can see the Spurs getting into that 5th or 6th spot now, and like I would feel comfortable bumping them up to the 5th or 6th spot, especially with Derek White right like on the precipice of returning and Lonnie Walker right around the corner to deepen the backcourt, which has really been the biggest concern for the Spurs so far, is they haven't. Like, yeah, DeRozan's been great, but if you bench DeRozan, like, Bellinelli has to play outstanding basketball for them to, like, be able to survive, and it's one of the reasons why DeRozan's averaging 37 minutes a game, which is, like, unheard of for a Spur. So, those two guys should help a lot. Well, let's finish up on Fire and Dyer and Prophecies. I'm going to lead off. I have the Denver Nuggets on fire. Jamal Murray going off for 48, almost 51. Causing Kyrie to throw a ball into the stands and get fined $25,000. I wasn't sure what to think of Denver before the season started because I knew how good they were last year, on the cusp of making the playoffs, and everybody gets a new year. And they have, kind of a star player in Jokic, but he doesn't have to kill you every night, like kill the other team every night for them to win basketball games. Because they have a pretty good, well-rounded roster. They beat the Warriors earlier this year with Hernan Gomez getting the game-saving block. Like I said, Jamal Murray going off for 48. Gary Harris has been consistent. Paul Millsap has been a veteran, kind of rock-solid leadership, giving you the, like
Horford is to
exactly. He doesn't need to average 20 points for them to win. He needs to make the key plays, make the key screens, kind of just be the glue to everything. And they're doing this without Will Barton, who got hurt. Like, so they don't even have one of their top 5 players, and they're beating Boston. They're beating Golden State. I can't think of who their one loss is to.
LA.
Is it to LA?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're on fire. Hence the spot in the segment. Andrew, who's on fire for you?
My fire, I guess you could say kind of backhand. I got the New York Football Giants.
Woo!
Winning on their bye. This is like the NFC East is so bad that You advance. You don't fall behind or anything like that. And
Well, they're already last.
they're in last, but it's just like shit. Shit.
That's pretty much.
That sums up the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, that's
It's just a whole lot of shit.
Alvin.
Mine, Drew Brees and the Saints, giving the Rams their first loss, holding Todd Gurley to only 68 yards, and one touchdown.
Number one rush defense in the NFL.
And Brees just doing Brees things, 346 yards, 4 touchdowns, no INTs. Like, while everybody's just all about Pat Mahomes and Brady and Rodgers. Brees
Jared Goff.
Brees just doing Brees things.
Yep. That's
Is he gonna break that record this year? Or is that next year's?
which record? The touchdown record?
Touchdown record.
He wouldn't break it this year.
It'll be next year.
He's 30 behind it.
Hey.
He's
He needs 5 touchdown games.
I mean the NFL is set up for touchdown passes, but like Mahomes is on pace to break the record of touchdowns in a season right now. But other than that, I'm gonna look up the stats just to be sure. So while I do,
Got a chicken on Peyton.
while I do that, no. I'm not.
You doing okay?
I gotta DM him really quick. Alvin, follow up with your Endire while I look this up.
My guy right now, even though early on, but they started off hot, is the Pelicans. Lost 6 in a row after Davis nicked his elbow, and he hasn't been the same since. His points per game and all his averages dropped down too. So at first it was looking like they could be a team in the West, but right now you can see how important Davis is to that team when he's not 100%.
Yeah, no, they need him.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
their efficiency goes way down, and the pace of the game goes way down for them also.
Andrew, on to you.
My Dyer. I got LSU. Sorry you're not making it to the playoffs. It looked good up until you got smoked by Bama. Oh my God.
Tua.
Shit, what was that score? Did they shut him out?
Yeah, like
that's
20,
what I saw.
29-0.
Yeah, I was just like,
I know. I felt comfortable saying LSU was going to cover. Like Alvin over here said that they were going to upset Bama. I was like, they're just going to cover 14. Nope.
they got fucking smoked. Put that donut on the board.
But it was the same. LSU's defense played amazing. LSU's offense, they were trying to just run into a brick wall over and over again. Like at some point, you just got to say, I'm going 5 wide, and like we're just going to air it out.
Yeah.
We're just going to throw just like.
But no.
Nah, it didn't work out too good, man.
So last year, and it would have been really difficult for me to go, and it would have taken a lot more time. I'm just going. I just went by teams, how many passing touchdowns teams threw.
You'll have it ready by next week. Don't worry.
Philly led the league last year in touchdown passes with 38.
Yeah.
Seattle was second at 34. New England was third at 32. And then everybody else was under 30 for the season. So 3 teams threw for 30 touchdown passes in a year. Breeze, as great as he is, probably not going to get that 30 touchdown, especially with Kamara and Ingram being able to tote the ball the way that they do.
Hey, Kamara's catching some touchdowns too.
I know. He's been playing great.
That Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
But like right now, what are we at with the passing offense? The Saints have 18 touchdown passes.
Right now?
Yeah.
That just sounds so little.
And that's half the game. That's half the season. They're 6-1 now. 7-1. 6-1. 6-1 because they already had their bye. Oh no, week 9. 7-1. So they have 8 more games, and cold weather hits and passing touchdowns tend to go down a little bit. I mean, we'll see. Kansas City's at 29 already.
Already.
Yeah, 29 and almost 3,000 yards passing. But
speaking of cold weather, Saints schedule. They got one.
Do they even play one?
Huh?
Do they even play a team in the cold weather?
they play. No.
They play the Panthers, December. Steelers.
At home. Those are at home.
Steelers
Those are in the dome.
Steelers in Pittsburgh, though.
No, it's not. It's at home.
Oh, no, they play the Panthers in December over there. December 17th, the first one.
So their last 4 road games are Cincinnati this week, so it might be a little cold. But then it's home against Philly in a dome, home against Atlanta, dome, at Cowboys, dome, at Tampa Bay, Florida, at Carolina. So Carolina's
not much cold weather.
And then home, dome, their last 2 games. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. But at some point, you would expect teams to be like, Drew Brees is like, we just need to drop back on him. Like, let them run the ball, I guess. Like how do you stop these offenses? Like the Saints won this week.
The league's not meant. They're not making it so you stop these offenses.
You can't handshake the defenders anymore.
Yeah, no press coverages and. Yeah, you'd blow on the quarterback and flag 15 yards. And, so my dire kind of goes with your fire with the Giants.
The NFC East.
So my dire is all the teams that are at the top of the draft, like all the worst teams in the league. Like you're in dire, not because you're bad. Like, because your season's done, so now it goes into the tanking for a top pick. But the reason I have you in dire is because that top pick isn't going to be Tua this year. Like, you're bad in the wrong year. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want a quarterback, next year is the year to be bad. Because not only is it there's Tua, but there's Jake Fromm from Georgia. There's JT Daniel from USC. I believe he might... I don't know if he'll be eligible next year. Like next year's quarterback draft class is going to be a lot deeper than this year's. So you're bad at the wrong in the wrong year. So that's why you're my dire. And just to get my prophecy out of the way, it's from tonight's game that's going on right now. I haven't looked at the score. I have no idea what's going on. Y'all know the game's not on live behind me or anything. Duke, Kentucky. I have Zion going for 20 points, 15 rebounds. Well, more than 20 and 15, but at least 20 and 15. That's my prophecy. Just because college football this year is kind of weak, and the NFL games, there wasn't really a thrilling NFL game this week. The best one's probably Thursday night with Panthers Steelers. So that's my prophecy. Alvin, your prophecy.
Well, my prophecy, going back to college football, I'd say Wisconsin over Penn State.
On the road in college. What is it? College. Fuck. You know where Penn State is? I wanted to say College Park, but I feel Happy Valley, but it's college something.
I think it is College Park.
Because I feel like College Park is Maryland.
College Park everywhere.
University Park. That's what it is.
Same
University
thing.
Park. But in Happy Valley. Yeah. But Trace McSorley, I think, is banged up. He might. I don't even know if he's going to play this game. So Wisconsin's going to try to run the ball down their throat. Andrew, prophesize.
Big one.
Ooh.
I got a Cowboy surprise win in Philly.
Hey. Be hungry.
Sunday Night Football.
RJ Ochoa, who does blogging with the boys and fills in on ESPN San Antonio. He tweeted last night after the Cowboys loss. I want to pull it up to get it correct. Excuse me while I find this. Because I kind of found it hilarious when he tweeted it last night. Because he was talking about, you know, the good thing for the Cowboys after this game, because, you know, they, like I said earlier, they were coming off of a bye week and had this terrible game, and here it is. Good news for the Cowboys. Their next game is in a hostile Philadelphia environment where the Eagles are coming off of their bye and anxious to debut their new receiver. And I read that and I go, the Cowboys were at home, so Tennessee was coming into a hostile Dallas environment where the Cowboys were coming off of their bye and anxious to debut their new receiver. And they got smacked down, even though Amari Cooper played well. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys could definitely win that game. But
Eagles are not the Eagles of last year.
But the problem that you see with football right now, good coaching beats bad coaching. The Patriots beat the Packers not because they're more talented, because you could probably argue that the Packers have just as much talent as the Patriots, but you're putting Bill Belichick up against Mike McCarthy. And it's a mismatch. And the preparation, execution, scheming, it was a mismatch. So we'll see how these all shape out. But that wraps up our 50th episode, guys.
Holy moly.
So we'll be back next week for another edition of the Benchwarmers podcast. I'm Casey Coggins, joined by Alvin Hebert.
A whiskey to that.
And Andrew Lara.
See ya.
See you next week.